Sanje la ja su che wo che la ja su che wo ye dan la ja su che wo la la ja su che wo sanje la ja su che wo che la ja su che wo ye dan la ja su che wo san ye che dong zuo jie zhou nang la chang zhou ba de da ne ja su jie da jie zhen zuo jie wei zuo nang ji zhou la pan zhi san jie zhe ber xiao san ye zhi dang zuo jie zhou nang la chang zhou ba de da ne ja su jie da jie zhen zuo jie wei zuo nang ji zhou la pan zhi san jie zhe ber xiao tam zhi de wa dang de wei de dang dang ber zhi ji sem zhi tam zhi deng wo dang deng wo ji ji dang zha wer zhi ji sem zhi tam zhi deng wo bei bei de wa dang men zha wer zhi ji sem zhi tam zhi nie rang cha dang dan yong la ne wer zhi tam zhi den wa dang de wei ye dang dang ber zhi ji sem zhi tam zhi den wo dang deng wo ji ji dang zha wer zhi ji sem zhi tam zhi den wo bei bei de wa dang men zha wer zhi ji sem zhi tam zhi nie rang cha dang ni dang zha wei dan yong la ne wer zhi ji sa ji bu ji xu xiang ne dou zhen zhe zhou lan zhi nie de lian ba de san ji xiang de ne de bo wa yi ru ge nang da xiang la jiu ber yi de nong ge zhe zhang na man zhao la jia de kan men ya da ya
I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, Mount Mirror, encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon. I visualize this Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy the pure land. He dong
zhe zhe na man zha la ya de ya
dao gang me ya dao ya.
哦呀，那从我从这里是有，那我怎么跟罗马的那个名字？
Good morning to you all, and thank you for coming. Let's begin today's discussion with Aryantara mantra recitation and meditation.
正殿的马老罗马拉上拉罗 chaza droma dare kamo tudara ye nyengu ze ma dure dona danje ma suwa ye je la rang du dare 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 so ha dare dare so ha dare dare so dare dare so dare so dare so dare
다 같이 니와 디서 니와 시치기 냠는 진이 땀바는스 또붕아 동화 달라 정월샤 시송데 너라 ngali 당보 펜비 또네 저 단내 종 상치 마투기 워드 셰적드 신데 마시 진칠 당 델리 경 론들 당 다완드 당 캬퍼드 데릉기인 셔트긴들라 더 전기 토장위 녀모 등 니위 녀모와 기위 고쿠메 버샤 데드르 원트 링업 기초바 가치정 마송월 샤냠비 판바 땅와 땅 데진드 라미 상치 마투 기워 워드 소니 네 차버드 데랑기 년적 기워 달라 상치지 셈라 콤버샤오 상치 셈양 만저워 샤오 냠비 펜바 땅나 상치지 셈 땅 만저워 저때 땅이 진자올 저다 저터 몽트 미따나 데라 니비 토파 데탁기 대진뜬 데라 셈숑 길 시송소 어떠바드 송잖아.
Please go to your copy translation page 84. The integrated practice of a single lifetime. The text says, train in the 5 powers. The power of intention. We must set a strong determination, thinking, I shall not let the primary or secondary disturbing emotions which arise from the misconception of self dominate my activities of body and speech, even for a moment, from now until I attain enlightenment, or at any time in this life until I die, this year, this month, and similarly make a resolve thinking, I will become familiar with and never be separated from the awakening mind until I have attained the highest enlightenment, and so forth. And today, in particular, I shall not be parted from it. The King of Meditative Stability Sutra says, the more a human being analyzes something, because the force of his thought is focused, his mind dwell on it more strongly.
단데 아니 마치 냠는지는 그나 티시거랑라 아니 마치 기와니 마시파르다 냠는지 그 제나 간드지고레지나다 또가 청위군이 지고레스 또가 청위군이 쪽이어서 또가 어디 가르서 또 당보때니 그 펜비도레스 펜바잖아 옹인들이 지기나 차시고 받으러 차시고 지는 펜바 당지니 펜바 당네 펜바 가르서 당고르스나 전나 상치 마투기 와드 셰적당 친들 어땅에 빼 nga 상지 기수 공파 마투기 파트 저지나 다티 캬퍼드 신드가 아니 해바 마족베 파트 데니 다완드 다와 마족베 파트 아니 다 타르트나 데랑 그 인적 특지니 인적 특지도 수익 삼지로 Terang chisunyi sabji rang dela tangi deri jigin tamchan ro zum thwaina tat katina terang ma to sani nga kan thoya mar tin chene ne chisunyi sabji tin ro thwaina masi khorang tin ro thwore zor ta te kar khelin chi gor jna o ta dangjing ge ne tang ni nga se rang chor zu ti ne tang wi gu ne chadang wang dam ro gu men se ta te chisunyi sabji rang la terang ge chisunyi sabji rang nga chadang wang ro gu men se rang chin jing ge ne la chadang wang ro gu men se tamchat ta chikchi 니와테네 언더 마송 고치장 마송을 냠비 페바당 그랬어. 디원도 만로이 페바당 그랬어. 대비신데 라나메 비상습 소고들 쏟다 바로도 심바티라 소바 아니지. 사와섬나 냠랭 디 잡을듯 대랑니 종대 애니 인정 특직경 등이 베 지기 인지 맞아버신데 때 맞추 지기 인지네. 어디 판바당 그랬어. 다 노르디샤나 니 득바 지기메 님 수익 잡지랑라 개와 접고 인세 다 펜바진 담자진 남한테 때 골롱 덕문도 당고래서 어때 때 당아이나 안에 따다 당은 요 롱정네 소소부터 남도도 소소 셈그 골롱도 쇼잉아오야 랑아도 냠데 어 대는 이만 치고 되게 샤와 여고지긴 골롱원도 따라 때 니마 치고 니베 원도 사마리 비버다 쇼그 펜베티 또기 샤와 간당 건치다 동용 탐적 기쇼라고 그러고 됐잖아 어때 펜비 또세 또 그렇게 뭐 때자 때 당고래 어떻게 그러다 다 머시치지나 인적 특징 때 동전은 머시치 차로 온다
Here, what we need to know is that first of all, we have to get into the scenario, and that scenario is that we are the practitioner, and we have the life, a limited lifespan, and lifespan. We have this spiritual practice. So what do we then? What do we should do? How we the time we have, and then to dedicate ourselves in the practice, spiritual practice. So now you are that person, okay? That's the situation. And in that situation, now you think of what should we do, right? You obviously want to practice it, but what kind of action you do need to take. So for those who committed themselves to the rest of life and their lifetime to practice to develop the bodhicitta, then they have to to achieve their goal by apply or rely on the 5 powers. These 5 powers, first of all, is the power of intention. The power of intention is that you sort of generate a thought, having a clear, make a clear mind, and then so then to take action, or let all actions very clear mind you made, or the goal. So here again, as a lifetime practitioner, your goal is to become a Buddha, a perfectly enlightened. So you have a lifetime here now, your life, in this lifetime here, and within that, the time span, a range of the lifetime, you have a year, and within the year, you have within the month, and you have this week, and then finally you have this day, today. When we talk about today, we are literally talk about the 24 hours. the length of the time within the 24. So within 24 hours, that's your time. That's what you really have. So now you are the practitioner, meaning you are the one who made a commitment. You are the one who pledged to dedicate to yourself to achieve the highest spiritual goal. So then your commitment is that you're going to take all action and not let yourself be abused, overpowered, or misled by the grasping at self of a person or by the ego of self-centeredness. So grasping the self of person, that is the cause of all dismay and non-virtuous action. So seeing this as a reality, now you made a commitment and you pledge you're going to do whatever you can. Do not let your speech, body, and mind and being abused, influenced by the grasping at the egocentric attachment to your misconception of individuality. So the way to overcome or root out this fundamental cause of all the dismay, and you need to apply, and you need to apply yourself to the three trainings of the Buddha Dharma, or the three disciplines of the Buddha Dharma. So we know that the three trainings of the discipline or the training of the Buddha Dharma is the morality and meditation and wisdom. So in brief, in short, the simplest term is that you have the very pledge you made, the commitment you made is that you do not want that any non-virtuous action taking happening or happening or take place. And you commit not anything that is non-virtuous as is the negative karma. But also you will do something that's completely opposite. That is, you will commit to lead yourself to take any action, and action is virtuous. So accumulation of virtuous action. So we can do it, right? And it is possible is because like the king of meditative stabilization and says here, scripture authority confirms, guarantee us that we can do that. Why? It's because, like the Sutta says, the more human beings analyze this, meaning you are thinking, you are contemplating, and you are focusing on in the virtuous thoughts, in this case, it's bodhicitta, because you are constantly focused on that, and then you dwell on it, and your mind or your understanding and your experience of the realization of bodhicitta will get stronger and stronger. So for this reason, and it is important every morning when you wake up, you know that you have 24 hours. So that's your life, actually. We talk about the whole lifetime. We are practically speaking, honestly speaking, we are talking about the 24 hours that we have, we can control. So therefore, it is very crucial every morning when we wake up, the first thing very first thing you do is set up a correct motivation, make a clear mind. The mind is you want to do whatever you can and to dedicate yourself to the development of mind of enlightenment or awakening mind.
가로 사원기 돕는 성취지 셈을 모치 마키와 기와당 기와 네와 꼰트 페피 짐발리 숑와도 스톰리 숑와도 곤발리 숑이 소놈당 이시지 초 좀버샤오 선바 숨진비 돕는 하르셀 하르젠 하르더진 지피 갑스 셰파터 덕지 덕좀 덕진당 대 장위 랑지버는지니네 전 야오른 도로와서 뇨모 남기 님 통이고니 심진정 봉와 람바데 존지리 던 산테 세기르담 덕긴고 제장라 나바근데 뇨모이 달란도르 마샤오 시송소 ተባድሎ스라
The power of the white seed. We need to preserve the merit and from generosity, affectation, which cause us to generate, maintain, and enhance the precious awakening mind. Number 3, the power of understanding their advantage, as were explained earlier in the context of exchanging. We should try such disturbing emotions as the misperception of self, the self-centered attitude it gives rise to, and the inclination to neglect others by means of regret. We should follow the training advised in the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, which says, it would be better for me to be burned, to have my head cut off, and be killed, than ever going down to my enemy. The ubiquitous disturbing emotions.
근데 가로 사원기 돕지나 가서 고즈나 기와 지위 제월라 때니스나 다 같은 인적 특징이 아니 기위 쇼라 좀 봐이나 기와 지위 딘 제우 대와 가오 사원 가로 사원기 돕디 사원기 니와라 때니 가로 고거즈나 상시지 사마키와 기와던 기와는 뭐님바 공리 공도 폐지네니 성지지 사월자라고 저그레스 대절라 가로 사원기 돕기 아니 다 파신적인 건도 그렇다 짐발리 숑와도 스톰리 숑와 동아도 곤발리 숑와 소놈도 이시지 초고드네 근데 바로 심바득도 소놈지 초도 송와 파신 지지 이시지 소송와 파신 이전에다 셔럽도 삼텐도 차차 야민이가 요르대자 어때지네 바로 심바득 조비 돕기 아니 상지지 사람 보시지네 같이 영화 티체트 아니 같이 알아서 그래 초상 라 좀버시 때 가오 사원기 돕 종나 레벨이 공내 야 페니데 용그레스 선지 숙사도 독그레스 근데 선바 심준비 돕지 선바 심준비 돕셔야 될 거잖아 하르닥 제비 값스 샤바터 당 다진 지비 값스 다진 얌지 값스 샤바터 아니 다진 당 티짱위 랑 진진상 전에 야오른 들어와서 요모와는 예무 통리지다 아니 기타 아주 소원이 작동 지사 소디 니용고 뭐 다든지 당전기 뭔가 아니 나타나이 왔지 때니 정도 작동 경우를 소소 가사텔라 잡아 마가사텔라 아니 당와 경우로 그런 진짜나 다든지 나서야지 뜻 지우는 좀 봐. 또 역시 촉든 좀 봐. 인삼네. 진전도 뜬이기 고니다 때 용구를 세고 진전이가 다때 나도 오늘 지다 소소 등의 영상을 진로 잔로 들이 때 자타위 고니 아니 때 야원도라 때라페 티 원트 만두어 지니까 때나 젠치오른 좀 봤다 덕 동아랑진지 드비 동아메 바티 쇼라 카탕고레 샘 카탕고 티체 티자니 다 존지 체모노나 가르는 덕기 존지글레 던 소티 사이키 당지는 ngape me saktana degree setangna degree na dagi ngoche tangna hai le the decrease ina ne namba kan nyomui dalan da marso ti tang namba thamchi tanga nyomui dag dag be dang rang chin jing want to rogo mare te ka tin rogo na nge spe ngoche tangda te ngi le tang thukore se oda tadishi ko ta dodong ro 심진바 세도 콜라다 파초 당든다 렌즈니라 갑자기 자더라
The power of the wide seed. So here, the power of the wide seed is something that, which is fundamental and essential. So that is something you have like foundations you laid out, and then from which that the awakening mind can be developed. So the white seed here typically refer to all the practice, the fundamental practice or the preliminary practice, which by nature is virtual and is spiritually is productive, and so therefore, one has to dedicate oneself to those practices, and so to make sure that those virtuous fundamental actions, virtuous actions, if it haven't developed, make sure to develop it, make it and give it a rise. If it has developed, then make sure you maintain and it, and to keep it promoting, and reach the perfection. And this this practice in the so it can be represented by the sixth great perfection of wisdom, meaning that the white seeds and that you're going to planting. You are going to planting, and you're going to ensure that the growing and the maintaining, and the fruition, and as basically is the great perfection of giving and the ethics or morality, and being the so the giving and the morality, and the patience or tolerance, and joyful perseverance, and those are four, and basically help the individual and then to achieve the merits of the collection of the merits. And then the fifth is meditation. Meditation is kind of divided into the 50-50, sort of a part of the meditation practice is serve as the wide seeds, and that to make the bodhicitta, the precious awakening mind growing. the meaning that lie the foundations for its growing. But then other half of the meditation and is to ensure the individual, the practitioner, to achieve the greater perfection of the collection of wisdom. So, anyways, they dedicate those 6 greater perfections, meaning not just lie planting and the seeds of the awakening mind, but you are nourishing it through the process or by the procedures of the 6 practice of the 6 great perfections, and then make it growing and reach its fullest capacity for the stages of fruition. And the next power, the third power of the training in the 5 power is the power of the remorse. Here, the remorse is it basically is that you understand based on the recognition of your misperception of the self, and then your attachment to the self person, and then from the self person, and then you develop this idea of me and mine, or I and mine. So you have this attached to the wrong perception as a person, and then from which, and then you further your possessions or things are related to you, and then you further attach to that part of the things that to the notion of mind, or things that relate to you or of importance to you, and consider the part of you that's yours or mine. And we have to know that this misperception, attachment to the misperception of self, further give us the self-cherishment, or sort of give us the excuse and made us to further attach the self, make us become a self-cherish, develop a sense of the self-cherishment. Self-cherishment here is that you think that you are the best and you are the most important, and so then the response to that very mistaken understanding of you are the best and you are the most important. So what is the remedy here, right? Remorse and is like so you see that is a false, right? Which is mistaken, of a terrible mistaken. So now what you do is you take the action that is opposed, which is against that very self-centered attitude, or the grasping self of person and self-cherishment. That is, you meditate on the emptiness of the selflessness of person by meditate on the union of the appearance and emptiness. Or let your mind and your attention to turn your attention and your mind to that the ultimate nature of the reality, right? The union of the emptiness and the appearance. And then every day, all the time, whenever you it's possible to dedicate yourself to this part of the to this essential practice. So this is what I need to do. But you have to make a very strong determination and to commit yourself to this practice. The way we need to do is like what Chantideva said in the Bodhicitta, Buddhi-Arya-Tara, or the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. So here, if he says, it would be, if he prefers that instead of bowing down to his own enemy, or as a practitioner, our own enemy, that is grasping a self-person, self-cherishment, or all kind of disturbing the emotions, right? The way he showed the determination is he preferred that. So even if in the case of he has to be burned and or cut off his head or be killed, that's the very choice as a dedicated, very committed practitioner, and who must choosing that even in the cases of those terrible choices, but not to obey or going down to the grasp of self-person and self-cherishment.
다 저 몰음지 또 저런 콘디기 게자 근 캬퍼트 랑기 고슴지 디비 디슴당 더비 게자남 남기 털라테니 저 샘진 근당 캬퍼트 랑기 게라 상치세는 보시 마키와키와당 기와남 고니 콘데 페 우리 시 소네 랍치위 몰문남 칼로지로 샤바오지 어떻게 jordan 되는 게 되듯이 통보죠.
yeah. The power of prayer. We should make great prayers that by the force of mundane and transcendental merits in general, and especially our own merits created by body, speech, and mind throughout the 3 times, all sentient beings in general, and ourselves in particular, may generate the awakening mind that they have not generated, and that it may abide and thrive in those who have it.
단데 좀 미 지금 저땅 거로다 성지지 마투 타가랑 쇼드너서 개원들이 좀 성지 마투 봐. 오늘 멋진데 제 마페비 받듯이 다 단다 삼노다 아주 인적 특징 나와니 던차니 인적 특징 인신이라기 가르치긴 당보와데 니마치 쇼고야 랑와다 냠데 대런 그 니마데 니 개와차 땅마도 비파마지 세야지 던데지 삼로도 펜바땅 거르지 던데 펜바땅네 아니 펜바땅나 띠똑 아니 리그미 있음 샤와 간땅 지야데 기위쇼 야르크 쇼 장전지나 틴디오 게사 사윈 페크레스 기위사와 페크레스 텔라다 망가오드 가토요 마르다고니다 기위 차이서 텔라 카르보지 망타가 데자네 기위 톱트야 페크레 기위 셈톱 페용 그레스 또 페용으로서 또 페와동 참치도 소소고 띠당 남바 스문진 바든데 소소고 차등이 어떻게까지나 드라타지네 데 드라이버데 차등이 경우는 될 람상 도전진에 드라타이나 텔라 스문진 바지 텔 카티나 반니시로 된 스라수지라 용구만 어떻지네 아니 gonda 주다 샤완로 지디 페는 약간로 청구나 어테라니 마치가 강치야 기와 강치야 소소게 아니 기위사와 강치 삼로이 고탄리 좀비 차트 탐지하네 기위사와 강때 기위사와 강서다 조어는 거 고슴네 고스 링이 있음라 때니 종교를 때 링이 있음라 때니 디슴지 기와 디슴지나 문지 섬바다 다다른 게 지와 마 이게와 강지와 때 탐지하네 저 샘진 탐지 성기 공부터 비치더니 퍼블 쇼치지 디기위사와 될라데니 차퍼트 랑기절라 상치 세마키 기와는 만님바통 고니 콘데 페어 쇼치지 어때디 몰음 잡고레스 데디 몰음 잡아나 인적 특식 다샤와 탐지 기위 쇼란도와 펜도체 보여요 뭐 몰음즈나 뭐 정도 저기 디위 기위사와 지 소소 인적 특식이랑 기위사 되는 거 지정을 요나 the Tena Jani, no watch her. Need the rich jewel attending the young sources, no war. That day much at the Yona Samba, so get some woman that the Yona service Semna, Yakasamlo Tangana, Molum Rida, what a Molum which happened is ra. Chipati, you Michila, Pena Michila, or the Yapore the Yona service Samutin, Molum. Martha was Jani, the young chet in it, water, Yona service Samute, Molum. Oh, yeah.
So the power of the prayer is essentially is a form of a strong spiritual mental attitude and or determination, and that very attitudes the determination is that kind of involved with all the time that you can think of or you can imagine. That is so from this lifetime on you attend the Buddhahood, become Buddha yourself. So that your prayers can be stretched as far as from this life to until the attainment of Buddhahood yourself. That is the ultimate goal, and that is the prayer or the attitude, the purpose of your practice that you need to set up. And then practically here, and so you needed to think about it in this lifetime alone. So what are you going to do, right? So you need to have set a very clear goal and then reinforce that goal in this lifetime. And then within this lifetime, so you have the month, a week, and a day. Like we talked about, you have a listed day that is made up of 24 hours. So 24 hours period of time, and it's driven can be directed or driven by the mind, a clear set of mind. Particularly as a practitioner, so you do need to have a very clear, make a very clear mind, and then direct yourself and use that 24 hours to dedicate yourself all the virtuous action and to commit yourself to the noble deed. And all the virtuous action and noble deeds here in the text refer to the white seed. And of course, the noble action or the virtuous, the karma, it's not something. It's not a form, so there's no color with it. But here, as used as the analogy, or example, something is like a white, which is kind of the symbol of purity, and then likewise, this virtuous action and noble deeds, all those are the white seed. But what's the opposite of it? And this noble seed and the virtuous action, which is the white seed, is our attachment and our aversion and our ignorance. So the three poisons. Then the attachment aversion. The way we need to look at it is like look at them as if they are our most horrible foe or the enemies. So you need to consider in terms of the functions and the way the attachment aversion, how they influence us. You must look at that, the relations between us and our disturbing emotions, right? Three poisons, is the relation of is innate by nature is the enemy. So therefore, you need all the take all the action and use all the means and to try to root out and look at it as something that's horrible and something that needs to be corrected. So remorse, and then you need first of all, make sure you not let that happen in your within the period of 24 hours. If you take it it took in place, you must through the by means of remorse, horrible, and then
it's 11 o'clock.
So not let never and justify or give yourself sort of excuse, but rather immediately reject and then that very negative deed. So this is what you, as a practitioner you need to do, and then the part of this power of the prayer is that towards the evening when you are ready to go to bed, and you do need to take a moment to briefly sort of scan through your all things that you did from the very beginning of the day, the morning, and up until the point where you're about to go to sleep. So see whether what you did, right? So our action and basically whatever we did has to be performed through what we call the three doors, through gateways maybe. Three doors are like the body is one, and the speech is another, and then the mind is the third. So those three, by those three ways or three that sort of a possible ways you can commit to the you can execute any action. So now when you're doing this investigation or examination and see what you have done from the morning, while you are doing sort of a briefing sort of to yourself, report to yourself, right? Briefing, self-reporting, and if you find that something was not good, is misdeed, is not non-virtuous action, and then again you must take immediate measurements and to identify the misdeed, and then to take action of the remorse and sort of like a root out by identifying that and pull out and tell yourself and that is something wrong, and then you determine you will prevent it. Do not let it happen again. Do this, and then you find that you also will find that the great things you have done, the noble deed that you committed, right? And for others, and also the practice that helps for others and others. Yes, you find if others did something and which is noble or can be considered a virtuous action, and rejoice it, if it yourself, and particularly, and then make sure and you dedicate the merits that you have accumulated. Here again, and I like to make a distinction, show you that the distinction between the dedication and the prayer. So your prayer is essentially you wish that the good things happening, and or the goal that the pure or the greatest spiritual goals you set up, right? And nice things can be happen. So those are the prayers. Right? It's kind of a good wish. But dedication is something you have already have a formal and something that you can relate to, and you can use it. Then you going to take it to do the things that you aim to achieve. In this case, yes. So now you are at the time before you go to bed, you daily briefing or self-reporting, and you find, oh, I did this great thing. So then you of course can count them. You did the what and how, and then you rejoice and then what you have done. And then think about all these good deeds, the noble deeds and virtuous action, and then you in your mind you say, may all beings, may I attend to the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient, or may all sentient beings that can use the merits which I accumulated to achieve their goal of enlightenment. Right. Unlike the dedication prayer, to have this kind of solid, sort of countable or measurable and the object, but from the bottom of your heart, wish that a good thing happen to others, and wish that you can achieve your highest ultimate spiritual goal.
Ti tamche tang neko tamche den bashi kombar shate chonjigli shiwi rangdun shepa da tabi jandun zabani danyi kine khyapar te shiye tang te kongna kenki yanlag tang mandiwar kombar shena rabki shimbar kirte kongna lhabar majirbi ngete kang yulmayin shi tang chakawi shani kyon tang chiwi semdala yondun chenpo chigdate kang tar lhapa tertar jong shiso Tonga yang tongi manga dani chakawi manga to jorna chaki manga to jorna thakpa chembi thakchin poi manga ki tonga nil yin jolam shi songso talo na tingin dum deus shel tanida.
The power of acquaintance. We should familiarize ourselves at all times and in all circumstances solely with the actual meditations as they were explained above. The guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life says, the childish work for their own benefits, the Buddha worked for the welfare of others. Just look at the differences between them. If we familiarize ourselves with this practice and maintain the conditions for doing so, we will gain perfection. As the saying goes, there is nothing that does not become easier with acquaintance. The great Chakawa said, this mind that is full of faults has one great quality, that is, does whatever it is taught. Apply the 5 power at the time of death. Apply the 5 power at the time of death. In relating these instructions on the 5 powers to the advice concerning what to do at the time of death, the text says, The five powers themselves are the great vehicles, precepts on the transference of consciousness. Cultivate these paths of practice.
Gombi top said that some like Gombi chatter, Gomzina Gom said that Tango Pe Yokoji Hako, Hoko the young Samlo Tangana, Samlo Tangatangason, some Tishola Pa, Gerwatani, something Gerwat Tishola, Girdovers to Gombi top said that. The Gomna, the Joji Chamolgana, she take cars na Gomna, the Gerwat Yobaka, the Swi to Sheba Tabijan Zaba, the Nikini Caperti, Nikono Status. 아주 토마메 바디 산지 땅도 칠바린다 산지가 전지 뜬산 또 삼진에 레비 삼 컴퓨터는 공부 산지 쓰는 아주 단다 코로나 손 사가도 돼 캬버티 다제네 셈강테나 강라진의 캡성 치도 세다 들 또 겁나 겐지 양락당 드라워 콤버시나 럽타신 워즈 디체나 디리치는 콤비 톱기 르비르비니 셈 지지 땅에 탈신 바 요르스 디그 gelung 차카와 카르송 오르즈나 кен чертон сэмдэ гүнжин жигрэдэ яна ко ёндын чэмбож ёр ёндын чэмбод карзна кола жиржи тагна ко гэрват ва ёрс жиржи таны малаг би чад самалаг би чала па гит ва ёрс тэ зэтэ корон ёндын чэмборс дэ зада танда тобнга сэт танда сэмжби то каро савинги то анс танда дэ тобнга гон сисон тобнга вот казна рби тэ гомгуна ани 아주 치위 디지털에나 샘드비 니와동다 바 치길 때라 동아데 저위군이 치기군이 동안 냠는지니 되게 같이나 니켜와시만 남성 배 부족 속비 개발된 토하게 되게 연구자 어때 부족 속발이 뜻이 거도 도로 망거 지그래서 거다 착하게 망가라 기라 요르치다 연들
Okay. So the power of acquaintance, essentially, the key here is acquaintance. Acquaintance is a familiarization. It gets used to it. Generally, we talk about the meditation. We use the word term meditation quite a lot. But the essence of the meditation, from a practical point of view, or practically speaking, is about familiarizing or get used to it, or to become acquainted. So this is the thing. When you are first of all identify the right attitudes. And then you began to be inviting that very noble attitude, the virtuous spiritual attitude. In this case, of course, is the Buddhicitta, and then so you began to let that very attitude and taking place in your own consciousness and or download it onto your and so then experience it. Then do that repeatedly over and over. So this way, and you will see the progress. You will see the transformation that is. So it's at the beginning you are unknown about it, and then now through the study you understood, you learn about it, and then through the contemplation you further understood its value, its quality, and then you put yourself into the actual that very the value or the quality yourself, then you began to accumulate merits, and you accumulate merits. But the accumulation of merits is the process of you get more used to it, you get familiar with it, familiarized with it, and then you get more and more very comfortable about it. Finally, to the point that you are absolutely get it. It's become natural and spontaneous, and you get absolutely used to it. So this is how the Shanti was said to us. He gave us the example. Let us compare with the Buddha's the enlightened experience. And prior to attaining enlightenment, the Siddhartha Gautama, right, and was just ordinary being, and like you and me. But because the Buddha and Siddhartha Gautama who put it himself into a practice of awakening mind, and then he went through the process of the power of acquaintance, meaning that repeatedly went over and over and implemented the Buddhista in the every day and all the time. So then eventually, and he turned himself from an ordinary person to become an enlightened one. So therefore, Sanjeeva tell us, look, and so Buddha become from ordinary person, and Siddhartha Gautama from ordinary person become Buddha because he worked for he did whatever for others, and so therefore from ordinary Siddhartha Gautama, Siddhartha, and he become a Buddha Shakyamuni, and then he further point out that look at the ordinary being, and so they are working for and the welfare of themselves. So therefore, of course, that they are in the state of in their life is the life condition is very confusing and very unnecessary. They experience all kinds of sufferings. So through this quotation here, the greatest lesson we can learn is that yes, we can make changes, just like you used the Siddhartha and the story, and from Siddhartha become the Shakyamuni Buddha's story, and then we know that if you dedicate to yourself and to the welfare of others, you will attain the Buddhahood. But if you continue being like a childish and a selfish, confused individual, you will continue suffering and in samsara. So therefore, the great Bhikkhu and Chakawa, and he, in addition to what the Sanchideva said, he also tells us that as ordinary sentient being, and our mind is very much troubled, and some has all the, but he says even though this very contaminated or troublesome the mind, but it still has one great quality. That great quality is if you thought and you can make a change, so the change can occur and can take in place. So therefore, it is clear that so we needed to get used to the practices that have been taught to us, especially those five powers. Right? We need to train ourselves in the five powers, the powers of intention that we have discussed, and then the powers of white seeds, right? And the powers of remorse, and the powers of prayer, and then finally the powers of the acquaintance. So we need to do bring ourselves over again and again, and to this the five powers or five the method, and then to increasing our awakening mind. So if you do so, what happens, like we follow the Chakawa's idea, and Chakawa even said that this is so apply to the five powers in your daily life, and to familiarize with it. It is a quintessential instruction. is considered this is a very direct and a special quintessential instruction, meaning that if you get used to it, familiarize with it, then you can bring that very attitude or the experiences and of the training in this power, you can brought it into the time of the death. So at the last phase, when you are reached to the last part or last phase of the life at the time of death, and those five powers will, because you get familiar with it, you get so much so used to it, so then and you will be absolutely enriched and benefited by the training, the very training that you have dedicated.
Oh yeah, I draw no how much to do.
We have about 10 minutes, and I would like to take questions.
Oh, I just it's all matter. Draw make by. Yeah. That draw me na ni. That tham ji jong rang rat chlong tan nang che long ta zga tam ji ta ka mas mat nga ma to make.
So I assume probably you don't have questions for me today, and maybe just let's say the dedication, and then I also have something that we need to take care and today.
그럼 저 참에 셈나데 또 nga se ti ko she ji ni nga zo matin ji ma matin ro si.
So my hope is you all and go review and make sure you understand those five powers, and then you reflect what we have discussed about the five powers. And if you have want to be more make more comments or clear the point more clear, then we can talk about it next time.
Lo mer ma ri ye don ro nam de ja vi mo bo da jer de ma so bi che ro gan de be yang ye zhe wei ji zong de da be re ba gen zang lang jin zhou nie ne zhe bi jia neng ni xi shou rang ye zhe zhen do be lang jin xie zhao zhe wei zhang wei tang gui wei ye ji men ba se xi ya wei dang ba ye rang zhe ye ji dang ba ren chen chou gui ma jiu chao jiang yang ber ge wei shou den de ji chen bo yo ru zhou ba de sa wer xie ber shou se jie ya wei ma xiong chen li la zhe shang qiu lang ji ren bi zhang tan du nan ji yu la he de shang da wen za ba rong de zhong ji ji zang zhe bi ten jian zhe xi shang ga jian se xi me dang me men gen ce ru gan de jiao wi ngao ba yi nang da lang dang zhe wer ma gang zi dang ban qiu la qi zhu qi zhen zhe la zong ba de yi te de nan ji dan de zhu xi zhang zha xi yang zu xiu gen zha bian ju Lama Rinpoche, Dakdi Nyenkar Pami Tangshi La Katin Chenpo Goni Jizong, Kasong Tuki Ngizhi Zade So, Shangchi Sencho Rinpoche, Marti Bani Jiji, Yewa Nyamba Me Parayang Gongde Gongde Pewar Shao, Gangri Ravi Kurvi Shankang Se Pandang Dewa Mali Jong, Chan zhe zhong dan zhe jiang su yi shi pe sen ti par de dan jir ji ja be ba wo zhi de ren tian ba dang gen de zong wo tian de ji se da lo shi ge wa de da tam zhi ra de ngo de si men shang bi ya wa tam zhi ji ngo wa gang ma zhou de ngo ba de da zhen ge wi za wa de我就是了的，我儿子反正用担保的生意等等，就他们是刚刚这跟拉点金融为呢生意担保到的一点就在这跟的要我中国为当做新人的是这。假如我别拉上的年里，个就这样都不是嘛点儿就。
Oh, yeah.